For the Colts, a tough loss, kind of frustrating, losing that game to the Rams 27-20 with so many opportunities to win it. But I think this is the game that the NFL media at large knows what I thought last week, that the Colts are a for real playoff contender and could rise to another level by the end of the season. So I think for a lot of people, this Colts versus Rams game was really a litmus test for the Colts. Yes, they were 3-0, but they really hadn't played anyone who's looked good this season. They played the Dolphins and Titans, who are both winless up to this point. And they played the Broncos, who had only won one game against the Titans. So and with that game, they got a little fortunate. So for them to play this Rams team that was 2-1, that even though they lost to the Eagles, they went right up with the Eagles. They look like a very good team. They've been a perennial playoff team for years. For them to go up against that team and put out the performance they did, I definitely think that shows something. But we do have to talk about the bad stuff first, fortunately, because they did lose the game. Adonai Mitchell, tough game for him, because that catch would have been so crazy. It was in traffic, he catches it, then he spins off of two people. It would have been a 75-yard touchdown and possibly broken the game over, but he just does a Deshaun Jackson where he lets the ball go right before the end zone. Hopefully for the Colts and him, he bounces back like Deshaun Jackson, has anywhere near that kind of career. But I just think it's a rookie mistake from him. A tough play, an unfortunate play, compounded by the fact that later in the game he had a holding call, which was holding. He grabbed the shit out of dude for no reason. When Johnathon Taylor would have taken off for what would have been, again, another game-breaking touchdown. So for the Colts, it was all right there. Even off of a play when they were up by 4, Mike Hilton comes in screaming on a blitz, forces a huge fumble right when Matthew Stafford handed the ball off to Kyren Williams. It was a huge play. Great blitz by Luanaromo. But still, in that opportunity, they get there. They got the ball at the 15, and Tyler Warren gets called for offensive pass interference. That kind of kills that drive. They end up having to settle for a field goal and only going up 7, when really the way that their offense was moving, that looked like it was going to be a touchdown drive. So for this team, definitely just a lot of opportunities left on the table. And I think for them, this is the first time that they found themselves really kind of in this position where you know what I mean, they're playing against a higher level team and they're considered as close to their equals, at least by Vegas, you know, on the road, 3.5-point underdogs. That's not too bad against the Rams. And me and Tony Tiger thought they were going to win this game. And it's not like they disappointed. I think for sure that this team, when you look at them play against the Rams, they look just as talented. They matched up right with them across the board. No one got dominated. Their offensive line, Jared Verse and Byron Young are just going to make plays, but they didn't get destroyed by any stretch. They were able to run the ball later in the game. The Rams have some defensive back problems, so they were doing that there, and their defense didn't get cooked. Now, I think situationally, their defense had some very, very bad moments. 2 minutes to go, 2:08 to go. Rams starting at their 4-yard line. For them to drive down the field kind of methodically, pick them apart, and then get a touchdown off of that drive, that can't happen. If you want to be a top-tier team in this league, like, you can't let up a touchdown in that situation. A field goal, when the Rams start getting moving, hard to stop them from that. But a touchdown there, especially with it being... Now, it was a great throw. The Rams, they have great players, and they were making plays. And the throw to Davante Adams was a rope. It was a straight dot in the end zone. However, you just can't let that up. Like, you just got to protect the end zone, because there were no timeouts, and the only thing they were going to do is take an end zone shot there. So just rough in a couple situations. I think that the play to Atwell, he just cooked, bro. 29, sorry, I don't know your name. But, dude, they had him clicking his heels. They called him Dorothy. That was rude. But yeah, they caught him on a little in and then a deep corner. And Tutu, who no one's expecting to really get the ball because Puka had been doing everything. That one hurt. So just some small errors, but I think overall, definitely a good sign. Now, one actual real concern for the Colts. Daniel Jones truly believes he's a top quarterback. You can tell by the way he's throwing the ball, and it's good that he has that confidence, kind of. But he's throwing this shit in tight windows, and twice in the game he threw just back-breaking interceptions to start the game and then to end the game with his 2 interceptions. And he almost threw another one in the second drive that they just dropped. He was just very risky with the football. It's good to know that he's not just, game manager is the funny term, but maybe he needs to be a little more of that. Like, he can take those deep shots because Tyler Warren is ridiculous. He's like their deep threat right now. While Mitchell's figuring it out. So with that being the case, like, you definitely want him pushing the ball down the field, but he's just got to be better with turning the ball over in these big games. We've seen him be very, very good against the worst teams. But when you step up in competition, when you're playing the Rams, when you're playing these top higher level teams, you definitely got to be better in those situations. And I think for the Colts, luckily for them, this isn't obviously a Ravens situation. They haven't been here for years and years and years. So this is definitely something they can learn from. Hopefully they do, because I like them. Their team has a lot of speed. They Steichen, old Eagles offensive coordinator. We love Steichen. He's that guy. And he went out there and he was just dialing it up. And just really good play calling game from both sides, from him and McVay. McVay was in his bag. He normally is. So that was impressive. And coming up next for the Colts, they got the Raiders, and then the Cardinals, and then the Chargers. Very interesting 3 games. I think they definitely, right now, definitely think they're going to go 2-1 in that stretch at least. And them against the Chargers is a very interesting game. Now, they could lose to the Cardinals. Don't want to disrespect the Cardinals. The Cardinals have just lost a couple games to NFC West teams, and that whole division is crazy. But I think right now the Colts are a little bit better, on both sides of the ball. And it's just interesting because you see, oh man, I hate these. You kind of see what Daniel Jones can end up being if he just reins it in a little bit more in some of these spots. But that's been the story about Daniel Jones for years. So we'll see if the Colts can fully unlock that in bigger games. But I definitely think this was a good sign for them. I know as a fan it's got to suck. Like that has to be a little ass just because, they kind of could have whooped them for real if they didn't have a couple of bad errors, mentally and self-induced errors at that. But hey, look, the Rams are a playoff team. They're used to big games, and they wanted to win this game really badly coming off that loss to the Eagles, and mainly because they're in a tough NFC West. For the Colts, you're at 3-1. I gotta remember them though. The Jags are right there at 3-1, so you're not completely out. Those two teams, who knows, man? That's going to be an interesting division. Texans are there at 1-3 too, but you hope that you can beat them because they don't look like nearly the same team. Starting for the Colts, definitely a good start. Got to bounce back next week with the Raiders with a big win. I think they will, and then we will see what they do the rest of the season. But I think they put the NFL on notice with something that we've kind of been saying for a couple weeks, not for the beginning of the season, but we're like, hold up, this Colts team has a lot of components, and Dan and Steichen are just making it work. Now, Dan has to rein it back, but these weapons, the defense, having Lynn and Romo, they had some breakdowns, but the defense looked good for most of the game. And if they score more points, you think maybe they're even better because now they can really just pin their ears back. They have some pass rush issues. Didn't really get to Stafford too much, but hey, look, we will see what happens with the Colts. That was a great game, a really fun game for at this point of the season between those two teams. It looks higher level, and I was impressed by the Colts. I really was, even though I thought that they were this good and thought that they would beat the Rams. It was impressive watching them really go up against them from a talent perspective and be able to stick right with them. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do weekly videos for each team. So we have playlists directed to your team and the week in the description. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and most importantly, comment in that section. I'd love to talk to you guys about what you think about the videos, what could be improved, what I did right. Thank you again. Lumia Sports. Peace.